They approved you. Oh, they finally, beautifully approved you. And I watched. I watched the way your shoulders dropped, the way you exhaled like a man who just survived a war. You smiled at your screen like it owed you something, like the world had finally decided you were worth it. And I laughed, not loudly, no. I laughed the way a man laughs at a funeral when he realizes the flowers were never for the dead. They were for the ones still pretending to grieve. You see, I know what that approval means. I know what lives on the other side of that little green light, that little stamped signature, that little moment where someone in a clean office decided your fate with a yawn. I have been approved before. Oh, I have been stamped and sealed and sent forward, and I remember exactly what happened next. So stay, because what I am about to tell you is not a warning. It is a confession. They approved you. And the first thing you did was tell someone. Oh, of course you did. You picked up your phone, you typed the words, you waited for the reaction, like a child who drew something on paper and needed an adult to say good. I understand that hunger. I do. I remember the first time someone approved me. Not a form, not a system, a person. She had tired eyes and a coffee-stained desk, and she looked at my file the way people look at something they have already decided about. And then she stamped it. And she said, "You are cleared." And I felt warm. Oh, I felt genuinely warm. That is the cruelest part, you know. The warmth comes first. They do not hand you a knife. They hand you a bouquet, and you hold it. You smell it. You put it in water like it will last forever. And it does last, for exactly as long as they need it to. I was warm for 6 days. 6 days of believing the door was open. 6 days of walking differently, straighter, slower, like a man who has somewhere real to go. And then the letter came. Not a loud letter, not a dramatic one. Just a quiet, polite, devastating little note that said, "Due to a change in circumstances." Oh, due to a change in circumstances. I laughed when I read it, not because it was funny. I laughed because I had known. Somewhere behind my ribs, in that small, dark room where I keep the things I refuse to say out loud, I had known. And here is your first truth, love. The approval was never about you. It was about them, about their timeline, their quota, their need to feel generous for exactly one afternoon. You were not chosen because you were ready. You were chosen because the number needed filling and your name was next on the list. Oh, do not make that face. I am not trying to wound you. I am trying to prepare you. There is a difference. Though I will admit from the outside, it looks almost identical. I used to prepare people differently. I used to walk into rooms and perform the truth. Loud, chaotic, painted in colors that made them flinch. And they would call me mad. They would call me dangerous. They would write long reports about the instability and the unpredictability and the threat to public order. But not once did anyone write a report about what made me this way. Not one clean office. Not one stamped file, not one tired woman with coffee stains ever looked up and said, "Something broke this man before we got to him." I was the problem, never the process, never the system that smiled at me first. And now you are standing where I once stood, warm, relieved, holding your bouquet. And I am watching you the way a man watches a candle that has just been lit in a windstorm. Oh, not because I want you to go out, because I already know the wind is coming, It is always already coming. It was coming before they approved you. It was coming while they stamped your file. It was blowing while you smiled at your screen and exhaled like a man who had survived a war. Here is what no one tells you after the approval. The system does not owe you continuation. It owes you nothing beyond that single moment, that one green light, that one signature. After that, you are on your own. And the cruelest twist, oh, and it is cruel, it is beautifully cruel, is that the approval itself will make you softer. It will lower your guard. It will make you trust the floor right before the floor decides it was never really there. I trusted the floor once. I smiled the way you are smiling now. I exhaled. I told someone. I put the bouquet in water, and when it wilted, and it did wilt, I did not cry. I laughed. Oh, I laughed until the room felt smaller, until the walls leaned in like old friends, until the only thing left was the sound of my own voice saying, "You knew. You always knew." So yes, they approved you, and I am genuinely, terribly glad for you. But stay close. You think approval is an arrival. Oh, that is the most exquisite mistake. Approval is not a destination. It is a corridor, long, narrow, lit just well enough that you cannot see what is waiting at the far end. But you walk it anyway, because the door closed behind you, and forward is the only direction that still feels like a choice. I walked a corridor like that once. I remember the sound of it, my own footsteps, hollow, echoing, like the building itself was not entirely sure I deserved to be inside it. There was a man at the end, clean suit, clean hands, the kind of hands that have never held anything heavier than a pen. He looked at me and said, "We have big plans for you." And oh, I believed him. I believed him the way starving people believe in the smell of bread, completely, desperately, without a single question. That is what approval does to the hungry. It does not feed you. It just makes the hunger feel dignified for a moment. You sit straighter. You speak more carefully. You start editing yourself, trimming the rough edges, swallowing the sharp words, performing the version of yourself they approved, rather than the version that actually keeps you alive at 3 a.m. And slowly, so slowly you do not notice, you begin to disappear. Not all at once, just one honest sentence at a time. I disappeared for almost 2 years, wore the right face, said the right things, laughed at the right moments. Not my laugh, no. Not that laugh, the other one. The small, polite, unthreatening laugh that says, "I am safe. I am manageable. I am exactly what you stamped me to be." And every night I would sit alone and I would look at my reflection, and the man looking back would be wearing my face like a costume. "You are still in there," I would tell him, and he would smile. But it was their smile, not mine. Here is the twist you were not expecting. The thing the approval actually unlocked was not opportunity. It was observation. From the moment they said yes, someone started watching. Not loudly, not obviously. The way weather watches a coastline, patient, impersonal, utterly indifferent to what gets damaged when it finally arrives. They approved you so they could study you, so they could learn exactly how much weight you could carry before the knees buckle, exactly how many corridors you will walk before you ask where the corridors lead. Oh, you are uncomfortable now. Good. Discomfort is the first honest thing you have felt since the green light came on. Hold it. Do not smooth it over with gratitude or relief or that warm story you have already started telling yourself about what this approval means. It means they need something from you. That is all it has ever meant. That is all it will ever mean. I needed to learn that the hard way. The man with the clean hands called me into his office on a Tuesday. Tuesdays, I have learned, are the favorite day of people who deliver bad news. Monday feels too cruel even for them. Wednesday feels like an admission that the week has already failed. But Tuesday has just enough hope left in it to make the blow land with maximum precision. He sat across from me. He folded his clean hands, and he said, "We need you to be less yourself." I remember the silence after that, the way it stretched, the way I almost laughed, but did not, because the hunger was still there, and the hunger knew that laughing would cost me the last thing they were still offering. So I nodded. Can you imagine? I nodded. I, who had once set a room on fire just to watch people decide which exit mattered most. I sat in that chair and I nodded like a man who had forgotten every single thing he ever was. And that is the emotional wound I want you to feel right now. Not my wound, yours, because you have nodded too. Maybe not in that office, maybe not to that man, but somewhere, to someone. You trimmed yourself down to fit through a door that was never built for your full size, and you called it progress. The corridor does not end. That is the final truth of part 2. You will walk it. You will perform, you will edit, you will nod, and somewhere ahead there will be another door, and another approval, and another man with clean hands, and a very particular idea of exactly who you are allowed to be, unless you understand what I understood. Too late, yes, always too late with me. But you still have the timing. You are still standing in the warm part. The bouquet is still fresh. The floor still feels solid. And that means you still have one move they have not accounted for. Oh, but I will not tell you what it is yet. Not here, not in the corridor. They build walls for 2 reasons: to keep things out, or to keep things in. And the ones who approved you, oh, they are masterful builders, precise, methodical, every brick placed with a smile and a firm handshake and a sentence that starts with, "We believe in you." But I have been on both sides of those walls, and I will tell you something no clean-handed man ever will. The walls were never about protection. They were about direction. They were built to make sure that no matter how lost you feel, you keep walking their way. I found the edge of the wall once, not by being clever, by being broken. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes after years of performing, after years of the small laugh and the careful nod and the trimmed-down version of yourself that fits through their doors. It is not tiredness. It is something quieter, something that sits behind your eyes like smoke in a room where no window has been opened in a very long time. I was sitting in a stairwell, somewhere between the 4th floor and the 5th, and I looked at my hands. And oh, this is the part that still makes me laugh, that still makes me genuinely laugh. I could not remember the last time my hands had done something that was entirely, completely, unashamedly mine. That was the moment I stopped nodding, not loudly, not dramatically. I did not stand on a table. I did not make a speech. I simply stopped. I let the silence come without rushing to fill it with their preferred version of me. And the silence said something back. It said, "You were never lost. You were redirected." And here is the first twist of this chapter, the one that reframes everything you thought you understood about why you wanted the approval in the first place. You did not want the green light because you needed permission. You wanted it because somewhere, a long time ago, someone very important to you withheld it. And you have been chasing that moment ever since. Not the approval itself, but the feeling that was supposed to come with it. The feeling of finally being seen by the person who looked away first. Mine was a man who smelled of cigarettes and distance. He never said, "I am proud of you." Not once. Not in the way that counts. Not in the quiet, unhurried way that settles into a child's chest and stays there like warmth in stone. He said other things, useful things, practical things, things that taught me how the world worked without ever once suggesting that the world might work for me. And so I spent years, oh, such beautifully wasted years, performing for audiences who were never him. Trying to earn something from people who had no idea they were standing in for someone else. "You are exactly what we were looking for," they would say, and I would smile. And somewhere behind my ribs, in that small, dark room, the child in the stairwell would whisper, "But you are not him, so it does not count." That is the wound beneath the wound. That is what the walls were built to hide, not the system's cruelty, not the man with clean hands, not the corridor, not the corridor's end. The walls were built to keep you from seeing that you are not chasing success. You are chasing repair. And the people who approved you do not know your name the way that man never knew what his silence cost. Oh. Breathe. I know that landed somewhere tender. I know because I am watching your face the way I watch all faces. For the exact moment the performance drops and the real thing surfaces, there it is. That flicker. That small, involuntary recognition of something true. Now here is the tactical twist. The one that changes how you move from this moment. Every system that has ever approved you already knew about this wound. Not your specific wound, but the wound. The universal one. The need to be chosen. They are not indifferent to it. They are dependent on it. The entire architecture of approval, the waiting, the reviewing, the stamping, the corridors, is engineered around the fact that humans who need to be chosen will endure almost anything for the chance to be chosen again. Your hunger is not a flaw they overlooked. It is a feature they are using. I used to think I was too clever for that. Oh, I was spectacular at thinking I was too clever. I would sit in my chaos and look down at the systems and laugh at how transparent they were, how mechanical, how predictable. And then a woman with tired eyes and a coffee-stained desk would say, "You are cleared," and I would feel warm, and the child in the stairwell would go very, very quiet. Clever, yes. Free, no. Not yet. Freedom did not look the way I imagined it. I had imagined it loud. Flames, falling structures, the beautiful collapse of everything that had ever constrained me. But when it actually came, oh, and it did come, it always comes eventually, it was silent. It was a Tuesday. Of course it was a Tuesday. And I walked out of the corridor not with fire but with something far more dangerous. Clarity. I finally saw the wall for what it was, not a boundary, a mirror. And what it reflected was not the man they had approved. It was the man they had been terrified of from the very beginning. And that man, oh, that man smiled. Not the small, polite smile, not the managed, trimmed, corridored smile, the real one. The one that starts somewhere deep and arrives on the face like weather. "There you are," I said. And he said nothing back. He did not need to. We had both been waiting long enough. But here is what I have not told you yet. The wall is still there. Clarity does not dissolve it. Seeing the mirror does not shatter it. You still have to make a choice. And not the dramatic kind. Not the kind that looks good from the outside. The quiet, personal, irreversible kind. The kind that costs something real. The choice is not what you think. It is not a grand gesture. It is not a declaration. It is not the moment where the music swells and you walk away in slow motion and everyone watching understands that something important just happened. No, the choice is smaller than that, quieter, more devastating. It is the moment you stop asking for permission to be exactly who you already are. I made that choice in a bathroom. Not a dramatic location, I know, not a rooftop, not a burning building, a bathroom. Flickering light overhead, cold tap that never ran warm. Cracked tile on the left wall shaped almost like a question mark. And oh, the universe does love its little jokes. I looked at myself in that mirror for a very long time, and I said out loud, to no one, to everyone, to the cracked tile, I am done performing for people who will never once perform for me. And then I laughed. Not the polite one, not the managed one, the one that lives in the basement, the one they wrote reports about, and it felt like the first honest breath in a room that had been sealed for years. Now here is where most people expect the liberation, the swelling feeling, the cinematic exhale, the sense that the weight has lifted and the road ahead is suddenly clear and golden and all the corridors have opened into fields. And I will tell you the truth, because I am done with comfortable lies. I was done with them long before you sat down to listen. The truth is that the choice made everything harder. Immediately. Completely. Harder in the way that only true things are hard. The man with clean hands stopped smiling. Not dramatically, not with a scene. He simply recalibrated. The warmth in his voice dropped by exactly the degrees required to communicate displeasure, without ever having to admit he was displeased. The approval slowed. The corridors narrowed. The invitations to the rooms where decisions are made began arriving for other people. And I watched all of it with the clarity I had earned in that bathroom under that flickering light. And I understood something that I want you to carry with you past this video, past this moment, past every green light and stamped file that comes next. When you stop needing their approval, they need yours. Oh, sit with that. When you stop needing their approval, they need yours. The entire architecture inverts. The wall becomes a door. The corridor becomes a choice. The man with clean hands becomes suddenly, profoundly aware that his hands have only ever been useful for holding pens, and that pens are only powerful when someone is still willing to care what they sign. This is the ethical twist, the one I saved for last, because it is the most uncomfortable, and I believe in saving the most uncomfortable things for the moment, when the listener is too invested to leave. You are too invested to leave. I know. I can feel it. The ethical twist is this. Your freedom will look like madness to everyone still in the corridor. Not because you are wrong, because you are early. Because the people still walking that narrow lit path have not yet reached the wall. They have not yet sat in a stairwell between the 4th floor and the 5th and looked at their hands and felt the smoke behind their eyes. And so when you step off the path and you breathe differently, and you stop trimming yourself and you let the real laugh come, they will write reports. Oh, they will write such thorough, well-organized reports about the instability, about the unpredictability, about the threat to the established order. And not one of those reports will contain a single sentence asking what the established order cost you to maintain. I grieved that. I will be honest. I grieved it the way you grieve a house that was never really yours, but that you had lived in long enough to know exactly which floorboards creaked and which window let in the best morning light. I did not want to leave, I told myself on a Thursday. Thursday because I have grown suspicious of Tuesdays. I wanted them to make it worth staying. And the mirror said nothing. And the cracked tile said nothing. And the child in the stairwell, for the first time in as long as I could remember, said nothing either. Because he already knew. He had always known. Children know everything that adults spend decades learning to forget. So here is what I want to leave inside you. Not instructions. Not a system, not a corridor, just 3 things. Small enough to carry, heavy enough to matter. The first, every approval you have ever received was a transaction. That does not make it meaningless. It makes it honest. Transactions are not betrayals. They are simply not love. Learn the difference. Stop asking transactions to feel like love. The second, the wound beneath the wound is real. The child in the stairwell is real. The man who never said, "I am proud of you," in the quiet, unhurried way that settles into the chest like warmth in stone. He is real. But he is not in the room. He has not been in the room for a very long time, and the people holding the stamps and the pens are not him. They cannot give you what he withheld. Stop asking them to. The third, oh, and this one I say with full tenderness, with the specific tenderness of someone who learned it the most expensive possible way. The real version of you, the full-size one, the one that does not fit through their doors. That version is not a problem to be solved. It is not a threat to be managed. It is not a file to be stamped or a corridor to be walked or a report to be written. It is the only version that was ever actually alive. And I know what you are thinking. You are thinking. Easy for the Joker to say. He has nothing left to lose. Oh, but that is the most beautiful misunderstanding. I did not stop losing things when I made the choice. I lost everything after the choice. The difference is, I chose what I lost. For the first time. In my entire burning, laughing, flickering life, I chose. They approved you. They stamped your file. They handed you the bouquet and showed you the corridor and lit it just well enough to keep you walking. And now you know what the walls were for. And now you know what the approval was buying. And now you know about the wound and the child and the man with clean hands and the Tuesday letters and the smile that was never yours. So the question is not whether they approved you. The question, the only question that has ever mattered, is whether you approve of yourself. Oh, and before you answer too quickly, before you reach for the comfortable yes, look in the mirror. Look the way I looked, under the flickering light, with the cold tap and the cracked tile. Really look. And ask the man looking back when was the last time he did something entirely, completely, unashamedly his. That answer, whatever it is, however long the silence before it, that is where you begin. Not at the approval, not at the green light, not at the stamp or the signature or the warm exhale or the bouquet you put in water like it was going to last. Here, this moment, this mirror, this version of you that has been waiting very quietly, very patiently, for you to stop asking for permission to arrive. They approved you. Oh, but I have been waiting to see what you do now that you know the approval was never the point, and neither was I.